Undisputed live from Los Angeles. I'm Jason McIntyre, back with Chris Broussard and LeVar Arrington. Good morning, fellas.
What up? What up? What up, Chris?
What's up, fellas?
All right.
It is my pleasure to continue teaching you guys this week.
Yeah, right. I'm not learning anything. Let's start here. An early playoff exit left LeBron and the Lakers with numerous questions. After trading for Russell Westbrook to stand alongside King James and AD, the purple and gold brought back former players in Dwight Howard and Trevor Ariza. LA also nabbed young guards Malik Monk and Kendrick Nunn. Finally, they cashed in on LeBron's banana boat buddy, Carmelo Anthony. All that remains to be seen is if LA has turned their questions into answers. All right, Chris Broussard, we'll start with you. Have the Lakers done enough to get LeBron back to the finals?
Well, here's where I'm at on the Lakers. If you ask me the Lakers or the field in the West, I'm going with the field, all right, to get to the finals. But if you put a gun to my head and said you got to name one team in the West that you're picking as the favorite, I'm going with the Lakers. Obviously, the talent at the top of the roster is legendary. And then you added Carmelo, who's a legend in his own right as an older player. So they've got the talent to get to the finals, but this team's got a few major questions. The first of which, look, guys, we've talked about it. This is the granddaddy of all chemistry experiments. All right, so how is this team going to fit together? Westbrook, is he going to be comfortable off the ball playing with LeBron? What's the spacing with certain lineups going to be like? So there are a lot of questions in that regard as how these guys fit together on the floor. And Frank Vogel and that coaching staff is going to have their work cut out for them, figuring out what lineups to play together, how to divvy out the minutes. Because, look, all things considered, I mean, they didn't have much money to spend. They did a good job of filling out and rounding out this roster. But the second question is this one, and it's just as big as the first. These dudes are old. All right, this is an old team. This looks like Team USA from 2012 or 2016. I mean, these brothers are old, and there's a serious question as to who's going to make it to the finish line for them. We look at LeBron as a Superman, and he has been that, and then some. But he will be 37 years old in December. In 2 of the past 3 seasons, he's ended with injury, and the one in which he made it through the entire year, they had a 4-month layoff. All right, and then you got Anthony Davis, who is injury-prone. You know, and then the other guys are older as well, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony. I get it. They won't play the same minutes that LeBron and AD do, but still, age could be a factor. And when we think about big threes, guys, in the history of the NBA, we tend to think about the ones that have had success. We think about Boston with Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce. We think about Miami, of course, with LeBron, D. Wade, and Chris Bosh. We think about Golden State with KD, Steph, and Clay. We don't think about the ones that failed, though. And there were several that failed. And the one thing every single one of them had in common was age. They were old. The Lakers brought together Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry West, and Elgin Baylor. They played 3 seasons together, no rings. Why? Because injuries. Elgin Baylor was out a lot. Wilt Chamberlain was out 1 season for the most part. Jerry West even had a few nagging injuries. Then you go to Houston. Charles Barkley, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler. They were old and nearing the end of their prime, and they never got to the finals in 2 years together. They tried it again with Barkley, Olajuwon, Scottie Pippen, go out in the first round. The Lakers have done it a few more times. Remember when Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Kobe, and Shaq came together? Now, Kobe and Shaq were still fairly young, but Payton and Malone were older. And when they got to the finals against Detroit, Karl Malone was banged up. And then remember, more recently, Dwight Howard, Steve Nash, Kobe, Pau Gasol. That team goes out in the first round. Nash is banged up. they never really get to the finish line because of the age. So when you bring together older players, you've got to worry about their age and their health, and then you've got to worry about how do they adjust to new roles. Because for their whole careers, they played one way. Their whole careers, they've been the focal points of their offense or their team. And now you're asking them to come together and accept the role and play differently than they have their entire career. So these are the major challenges that the Lakers face. And a lot has to go right for them to get to the finals. That's why I picked the field in the West. But it's open. It's wide open. And the Lakers are the most talented team out there.
I don't know why you picked the field, Broussard. I mean, again, they were the favorites to go this year, and they get injured. And they didn't have any of these guys. And you don't lose any guys in free agency that would say that they go a step back. I don't see anybody who did anything in the West definitively that says they took a step forward away from where the Lakers are currently. So I would still look at the Lakers as being the favorites. That's just what it is. Now you add the rest of Uncle Drew's crew to this deal. And for me, I look at it from this perspective.
Right.
This is modern day basketball. This is modern day sports. One thing I will say, the age-old arguments and discussion points that you're using and examples, they're dated.
Yeah.
They're very dated. And the reason why I'll say they're dated is because the way these guys train versus even when I was playing in the early 2000s to, you know, the first decade of it, it's different. It's a workout culture. These guys really, really do take care of themselves. They eat differently. They approach just the off seasons very different. And I don't look at age as being as egregious with these guys as I once would have in years before. I mean, we're looking at Tom Brady. Tom Brady's one of the highest rated players coming into this season, and he's also one of the oldest. So I'm not equating the level of accomplishment or the level of competition to necessarily being too old to compete. This isn't even a big three setup. I look at this as a dream team setup, right? Because you've gone beyond a big three. You brought in, you know, bringing in Dwight, now bringing in Carmelo and adding him, and you already have AD and LeBron. This is definitely going to come down to how you manage them. This is a managed situation. You know why? Because you have so much wisdom, you have so much experience, and you have still so much talent. And if I was looking at it from the standpoint of just injuries alone, well, everybody was injured this year. Everybody had a main player that was injured, and if I didn't or could have, would have, should have, in terms of if they were healthy, and they weren't old. They were young as well. So to me, when I look at this setup of this roster, yes, they're old. But don't overstate the fact that just because they're older, this isn't one of the most impressive collections in the history of the game of bringing guys together, of bringing talent together to make a run for a one-time title.
Yeah, Chris is so hung up on age. Age is nothing but a number, Chris. Okay?
Oh, geez.
Yes, the Lakers, I got all the jokes over text message, people around the league. The Lakers are going to lead the league in cholesterol. The Lakers are so old. All these jokes are flying. And, oh, this is the best collection of talent and experience since the Golden Girls. And people are joking about the Lakers. I think they have 6 players aged 32 or older, which is a new NBA record in the modern era. I think the Knicks. It might be 8. I don't know. Whatever. They got a lot of old dudes. Chris, it doesn't matter. You're missing the big picture. They perfectly rounded out this roster. They're without question the team to beat in the West because they got the perfect role players. Chris, we were concerned on Monday when Russell Westbrook was the big haul and they said they don't have the three-point shooting. We talked about that probably for 45 minutes on this show. What did Rob Pelinka and LeBron go do? Yes, and LeBron. They went, yeah, thank you, LeVar. They added 4 guys who shot 40 or better from 3 last year. 4. And Kendrick Nunn was 38. Now, I know they don't have a ton of two-way players, but when you can go toggle between Kent Bazemore and Wayne Ellington. Oh, and let's bring in Malik Monk. He's going to drop 30 tonight. The Lakers are really, really stacked and role players, Chris. And I think that's what you're missing. This is LeBron's best team since 2017 when he had Kyrie Irving and they got smoked by the Golden State Warriors who just happen to be the greatest team in the modern era, okay? This LeBron team is much better than the Lakers bubble team. Remember, their third best player on that team was KCP, okay? KCP went through it that year. We know he had his issues. They're way deeper than that Laker team from 2 years ago. And just one final word, Chris, on the injuries. LeVar eloquently put it, okay? Everybody was hurt in the playoffs last year. Trae Young goes down. Donte DiVincenzo goes down. Like, everybody lost somebody. The Lakers, by the way, added, I think, 7 guys on minimum contracts, and they somehow hit a home run with, like, almost all of them. Kendrick Nunn took less money to play with this stacked Lakers team than go elsewhere and make more money. Chris, you know, I don't want to be too mean. It's early in the show. But to say that the Lakers are not favorites in the West is just, you know, kind of going against conventional wisdom, facts, stats, numbers, Vegas numbers. Chris, come on.
Did you listen to what I said?
Yeah.
I said, if you force me to